Well, hello there, potato chips. How you doing? It's wee Paddy from across the shuck. I'm just going to straighten this up because my OCD is getting me. There we go. That's better. How you doing? Welcome to Sunday Chat with Paddy. I really didn't know what to do today. Like I say, sometimes I just come in on a Sunday to my little workroom here. I can close the door, I get peace and quiet, and sometimes I like just taking my knives out and have a wee fiddle. It just so happens that I have a couple of knives that are coming up for review this week, which are small slip joints. And I thought, well, I'll get slip joints out. But then I thought, well, there's lots of people on my channel like locking knives. So I decided to throw some locking knives out. And then I said, some of the people on my channel love small fixed blades. Well, I'll get a small fixed blade out. So that's what I ended up doing. I had these all over my desk and I've just sort of lined them up. These back ones are slip joints. These four knives here are locking, and that is obviously a fixed blade. And I just thought, what questions can I throw out to make these knives relevant? Because I didn't want to put them all away again without doing something. So here's the question I've come up with. Slip joints or locking knives or fixed blades? Which ones are the safest? And the honest answer that I can come up with, none of them. They're all knives and they'll cut you if you use them wrong. Now, and that might be controversial, but if you're using a slip joint right, you're not going to get cut any more than you're going to get cut with a locking knife or a fixed blade. Now, here's another. I want to back this up by saying, when I started out, I was very much into modern locking knives. Now, they were budget, but they were still modern, big locking knives. And then I progressed up a little bit to that medium bracket where I could get fidget tools, which is your locks, the different locks that you have, your axis locks and things like that. And I really enjoyed that. But that wouldn't have been enough to keep me in the hobby. A fidgety knife would not have kept me in the hobby because I like all knives. And, fidgeting for a couple of years, that was my goal. Get a knife that's drop shutty. And there's nothing wrong with this. This is me just talking. This is just me talking. No matter what you like, I just want people to love knives. I couldn't care what you like because there's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions we're going to put. These are the sort of things I think about when I'm sitting down with a clatter of knives. Now, at the moment, I'm really into slip joints. Is that all I carry? No. I still carry locking knives, a big locking knives, a small slip joint. I still carry my fixed blades about. I'm lucky I have a caravan. I go down there. I can carry what I like down around my caravan, which is great. I have a decking, so if I want to do any cutting, I'm on my own property, I can cut away. So, which do I prefer? And this is where my thought process has changed. I'm moving my hands frantically in the others. I can't talk without my hands. So I'm talking away here and I've just realised that how much I use my hands. But which knives do I like the best? I like all knives. Which knives do I use the most now? Slip joints. Why? Well, there's probably a couple of reasons. One, that the country I live in, I'm only allowed slip joints, and the blade, and it's changing very shortly. It used to be the cutting edge, but it's now, I believe, going to be heading down that route of the full blade has to be 3 inches or less. And that's fine. It's actually fine. I'm not as mad about that as I used to get. When this was talked about before, I used to get, oh, that's ridiculous. Look, do you want to know something? We don't have that knife culture over here. They've always been sort of poo-pooed. Well, since the Troubles over here in the UK. So from the 70s on, knives were a dangerous thing to carry about. I was a young boy and a teenager during the 70s, so I always carried a knife. I didn't carry it for protection. I carried it because when I was sitting about having a bottle of cider in the back of a park somewhere, I could sit and whittle a wee stick. That's what I mostly would have used my knife for. Sitting chopping a wee stick up or making a spear to throw about the park or the forest, making bows and arrows. That's what I'd done as a child. So I never had that knife is a weapon. Never came into my head. Really, genuinely didn't. And look, I wasn't an innocent wee boy. I used to have scraps. I used to have fights all the time. I lost some, I won some, but never once did I think of taking a knife out of my pocket and stabbing somebody. This is a generational thing that has to stop. But these don't cause it. We all know that. These don't cause it. So I love carrying a knife now as an owl fart because it's such a flippin' good tool. So do I have to limit myself to whether I like slip joints or locking knives or fixed blades? No, I'm in a position where I can like them all. And do you know, I actually believe I'm richer for it, as in richer in my knife hobby. Now, again, this is just me talking about my thoughts. It's not saying that if you like a fidget knife or if you like a locking knife, you're wrong. You're right. You're every bit as right. This is our money that we put into these to give us pleasure. So it doesn't matter what you do. There's no right or wrong answer. But here's what I've noticed, right? And it's a big notice. How many times do you see me with a plaster now? Incredibly rarely. And it's usually because I've done something stupid with whatever knife I had in my hand. But, apart from doing stupid things, are these fidget knives? I mean, take this for instance. There we go. There's a little case toothpick. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the bone on that. How beautiful is that? To me, that is much nicer than a titanium or a G10 knife. That is gorgeous. It's got style. Look, it's a case. It's tightly finished. It's beautifully finished. It's a perfect little knife. It's got two blades. It's got this blade here, which is also a pokey stick. That's what I'll use it for a lot of the time, to poke things out of somewhere that drop behind a kid's toy or a wee. Even in my own knives, if I drop a screw in behind something. It's got a pen blade, which is an adequate. Look, here's the sad thing is, look, you see this wee knife here? This could probably do me most of my day, and it's the size of my thumb. Do you know what I mean? It's the size of my thumb. This could do the little jobs I want for a knife most times during the day. Will it cut my steak? No, I've got bigger knives for that. But for little everyday jobs, which is what I use it for mostly. And even when I've got a 6-inch knife in my hand, it's never usually doing some big hard task. It's not. But I like carrying them. But since I went to more traditional knives, and it's what I carry, especially since I've been up home this last lot of time with these shingles, which have still not gone. I'm not going to moan. They're still there. It's 3 months now. I've had enough. But they're there, and it really is. It's affecting my everyday life because, I'm not going out as much. So my EDC is not getting used as much. I carry a little slip joint usually about the house, or if I've got a knife that I'm sort of testing. And when I say testing, most of the time it's just cutting up a wee cardboard box that the knife came delivered in. So, I mean, that's the testing that I'm doing at the minute. I'm not even doing cutting wood because when I actually, if I'm cutting on a jutter, it'll set off my shingles. So what do you think? I want comments down below on what you think of the locking knife, or do you just not like locking knives, or do you just not like slip joints or fixed blades? Are you set on that one thing? Because if you're not set, I would love to open a world up that I believe you would love. I honestly believe. Do you know, on this table, there's 2 knives on this table, which are probably the most bought and used knives in the whole of the knife world. And it's these 2 up here. It's the Swiss Army knife, and you can take any size. Today I was just talking about 3-inch knives, not 3-inch blades, 3-inch knives. This is well under it, but it's one of my most used knives now. And I never liked Swiss Army until I got this. I've realised the utility in having this little knife on me all day. Here's another one, the Peanut, the Case Peanut. Now, you can get Rough Rider, you can get higher end ones, you can get blooming custom ones. But the Case Peanut, I find, is the best, as in fit, finish, and, it's a sturdy little knife. There's no movement in my blades. Again, perfect back spring. And just look at that lovely autumn gold bone. It is just delicious. There's two knives. Now I've got a brass scale in this, which makes this an expensive little carry. This is probably the same price as this, but they are probably my most used knives. Now, not particularly this one. This one is definitely, since I've had it, I never stopped using the blooming thing. And it's got a Phillips screwdriver on it. When are knife makers going to put Phillips screwdrivers on normal two-bladed knives? That's what I thought. I must ask Mr. Harrison if he would do one for me. But so I get the pleasure in all the knives, as you know, and I say it over and over again. But if you're somebody who's sort of gone down that, you want that traditional fidgety knife, look, yes, buy them by all means. But don't close your mind to getting a wee slip joint, because they're so flippin' useful. Not that they're better or they're, you need to go down that route. Carrying something like this in your pocket is just so handy. And here's the other part of this that I'm going to put. We all talk about sheeple and we don't want to scare the sheeple. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with not wanting to scare somebody? If somebody has a genuine fear of an object, which in this day and age is being used for crime and for murders and for stabbings, what's wrong with making somebody like that less scared of people who carry them for the right reason? Does that make it? You see, that makes sense in my head, but I don't know whether that's because I live in the GB and there's been that fear of knives for a long time. I don't think we'll ever get that law changed because there's not enough people now. Like I keep saying, I can't get my kids to carry a knife. They just don't want to. Not that they are frightened of carrying them or they would use them if they needed it. None of them would do that, I believe. But they just don't want to carry a knife. And so if that's my children as well, and I've a lot of children, if that's all of mine together, how many out there are exactly the same as that? They're not interested. So for me as Paddy to change that, I do the best I can with my channel. And I have brought people into the hobby. My wife carries EDC now, usually two knives now. Like one of them will be a wee Swiss Army knife. And she has a beautiful knife that was given to her by one of my subs. And she carries it around the house and uses it as an EDC. That's what a knife is for. Depending on what your EDC is, will depend on what you're going to buy, whether it's going to be a big working knife or it's going to be just a little slip joint like my wife. Like me, when I'm about the house, I don't need a big knife. And unless I've actually got one in and I'm wanting to use it and test it, one of these gets thrown in my pajama or my tracksuit bottoms and I just carry it about. Because the amount of times that I'll go into the kitchen and I've got to cut a bit of silver foil or I've got to cut a bit of plastic, that's what it gets used for. So if you do like bigger knives, don't close your eyes to little knives like these. They are, look, here's a little Rough Rider. And if you're out somewhere and somebody has caught their bag somewhere or they've caught their shoelace or they need to cut a shoelace, for whatever the reason is, they need a penknife and somebody says, has anybody got a penknife? And you bring that out. How is that going to scare them? Again, it's the size of your finger. So it's not going to scare them. It's not going to scare them. And secondly, I think because of the bone, it's a lovely knife. Look at the tight fit and finish on that. Small, Rough Rider, costs buttons. And look at this. Now, does that look threatening? It looks odd. It looks like a conversation starter. And that's the joy of it. This little blade is razor sharp. And I mean, it's razor sharp. Really is. And it'll cut most things in my day. I don't need, and I'm just going to measure the cutting edge on this. The cutting edge is about 1.5 inches. And, you've got a belly. But this will cut most things in my day. It's scary to say that. Because at one stage, most of my knives, and all I ever really wanted was bigger knives that had flashy openings. I'm bored with that now. That's not what again, that's not why I originally carried. I've carried one all my life. The fidget factor was never one of the things that made me want to carry a knife until I came into this community. And you've done my head in that I had to have them. And then I became obsessed with them. And I'm so happy to come out the other side. Still like the knife, still like an easy open knife, still like a drop shotty knife, still like a smooth knife. But I just like to have a knife on me, and I don't fidget anywhere near as much. When I bring my Spyderco or my Benchmades out now and I try to open them on the channel, my finger memory is nearly gone because I don't carry them that much. And I've been carrying slip joints. I cut myself less now that I'm back to using a knife for what a knife should be used for. You know, if you're going to take a knife at its basic form, it's a work tool. Knives were never meant to be fidget tools. Now, again, I'm not getting it anyway. I've just realised that the knives I want to collect are not fidget knives anymore. They're knives that have character. They're knives that have, and I know all, again, I know all. I'm trying to stop people coming in with stupid comments. Not that I get that many of them, but there is some stupid comments comes in. Oh, it's because you live in the UK. It's nothing to do with where I live. It's nothing to do with the laws. This is one of the best little work knives you will ever get. This is a GEC. This is a number 26, I believe these are. You know, I never look at these that often. What is it? Yeah, I think it's a number 26. 26 or 25. It's not even on the blade there. Look at that it's a lovely little Wharncliffe, or not a Wharncliffe, a sheep's foot. Perfect sheep's foot in my eyes. Great little work knife. And funny, I've been showing bigger versions of this recently. But this, when you can see this blade and this collar, it's scratched, it's used, you know, it's a proper little work knife. And this will break down any boxes that I like. Absolutely not a problem. You know, it's got a tough steel on it. It's got a good thickness behind the edge. Well, not behind the edge, it's very thin behind the edge, but it's got a good blade stock, about 2 mil if it's that, might even be 2 mil. Again, GEC, perfectly finished. I can get 3.5 fingers on it. The third and the one wraps around the bottom. This is going nowhere. It's going absolutely nowhere. And I use this more often than not, even to break down boxes that are bigger and I want to cut them up smaller. This does the job perfectly. But it does all sorts of jobs. You know, you can get into places. I use it for you can use it for your grandkids, for cutting wee pictures out of books for them when they want to do that sort of artwork. This is a stunning knife. Lovely. Listen to that. Absolutely beautiful. Snakewood scales, which don't come up great on the camera, I'll be honest. But they are beautiful snakewood scales. Gorgeous. And what I want to know, not so much do you have, because I think most of us have small knives, is do you actually use your small knives? I genuinely do. As again, I've told you, I'm stuck in the house. Now, when I get up and I'm going back out again, I'll probably carry, well, not probably, I will carry a bigger knife again. You know, this is the size of knife that I'll normally carry. This is the Rough Rider work knife. This is under 3 inches. The total from the stern here to the tip is, the whole blade itself is under 3 inches. So it's legal to carry here. But here's what I want to just talk about. Which one's going to scare you more if you pull it out? And obviously it's going to be this one, isn't it? I mean, obviously. And anybody that sees a knife coming out that's not stupid size, you know, it's not a 4-inch blade. It's under 3-inch cutting edge. But that shape, when you bring that shape out and put it in your hand, and if somebody over there is scared of knives and they see that, it puts a little bit of fear in them. They maybe don't think you're going to attack them, but they think, why does he have a knife like that? He doesn't realise that this is a great working knife for detailed work, you know, that he is probably using scissors for, you're using your knife for. Because you enjoy that use. But it will do other things than just what scissors will do. This will do more. So, I don't know what you think of this. This is the old original work knife. It's still fantastic knife. Black G10, ring bolsters, just a stunning knife. 440A. I mean, the new ones are D2. Yeah, they last longer. But again, for me, this will do most of my day's work. And I still love this knife. Small fixed blades. Can't even carry them. It's an under 3 inch. The total length from the end of the covers to the end is under 3 inches. So it's not a threatening size. But if I pull this out somewhere and I use this, now this is under 3 inches. People see this and they see a fixed blade and they're already thinking, oh my God, why is he carrying that? That's small compared to what I want to carry most of the time, because I'll always have a little small blade in there. And this is where I think carrying the small blade, never mind for utility, and utility knife, they are fantastic for household utility tasks and probably everything you'll use at work if you work in an office. These wee knives will do. So I carry them because I'll use them. And rather than bringing this knife out when I'm out in public where there's a lot of people about or children about, and people get very defensive if there's children when you bring a big knife out. You can nearly see mothers picking them and grabbing them close. It's got that bad, knives. So here's a little baby canoe, or butterbean, I think Case called them. This is a little two-bladed knife that is absolutely fantastic. And they cost under $10, probably about £9–10 over here. It's a little double-bladed knife. This is, and honestly, it's genuinely really, really sharp, because this is one of the ones I use because it's got two blades. And it's handy if it's in your pocket. And if I do dull one, do you know what I'm saying? If I do dull one, I never have, but if I do, it's nice to have that secondary blade. If this is your only knife, having the two blades always allows a sharp one to remain on you, so you're never going to be caught short. And it's a toady little thing. It's toady. It is 2 3/4 inches long, fully 2 3/4 inches long. So the blade's probably about 2 inches. But again, does most of my day's work. So that's that little chat about that. And I'd love to know what your views are. When you came around, this is probably a better question. When you come around the knife community, do you feel that you have to follow, and the biggest trend is fidgety, drop shotty. That's all the biggest trend is. And there's nothing wrong, again, nothing wrong with it. But do you feel as if that you had to go in that direction because that's what everybody else had? And when you posted your pictures, you get more likes if you post a big flicky shiny titanium knife, because most of the time that's what it is. The fancier the knife, the more clicks you'll get. Again, it's not clicks or numbers have never been a part of my channel. As you know, I don't even ask people to subscribe. If you like this channel, you will subscribe. That's the way I look at it. But again, everybody's different. That's just me. Here's knives that I've had with me from the very early days. Tony Meter sent me this D2. I think it was my first D2 knife. By God, I love this little knife. And it is lasted. It's been used. It's a frame lock. It is just a stunning little knife and will do me all day. With D2 on this blade, this will do me as an EDC knife all day long. And I have broken thousands of boxes up with this. So don't say that it won't pick them up. You don't need 4 inches to cut up, a piece of material that's a 1/4 of an inch thick, cardboard. This will go through it, no problem. Very thin behind the edge. It's a very thin stock knife. Beautiful little D2 knife. This will never go anywhere because it is such a handy knife. This one, I think, is the knife that's been with me the longest. This is a San Remo, and when I first started, San Remo used to be really, really good at doing small lockback knives and slip joints, but mostly little lockbacks. And this is brass on the inside, stainless steel on the top, 8CR13, an absolute laser. Look how thin that is. I'm trying to get this. It nearly disappears in your eyes. It is so thin. You talk about slicey blades. Again, probably just over 2 inches, or let me just see. It's literally 2 inches dead on of a cutting edge on this. This will do me most of my day. And look, it's crazy. This is illegal. This is legal. I can't fight against that because that's what it is. But this knife will do me all day if I want to carry it. I choose not to. I choose now a lot of the times to carry, a really nice um, locking blade or a really nice slip joint, and then a small, either locking or unlocking, small knife. So that I have both about the house. When I go out, I just have to put locking knives away. So it's going to be my slip joints because that's legal. And I've got the stage where I'm really comfortable, but I've got the stage where I really know that I don't need anything bigger than a 3-inch slip joint to do anything I want in my day's work or in my day's life. I don't, in my day's life. Good heavens, Stephen. So no, I mean, I just don't. I don't need anything more than that. But do I want more sometimes? Yeah, I like having more. But these small knives, honestly, don't run by them and think, oh, I'm not going to buy that stupid wee knife. These case, you see the wee case peanuts and their smaller variety of knives, the little mini canoes. They're just fantastic little knives to throw in your pocket. They really, really are. If you're going to a wedding, if you're going to something, they're perfect. I tend to choose. This is one that this is a lovely size of a knife. This knife is 3 inches. The cutting edge isn't 3 inches, but this whole knife, this is a GEC number 14 pattern. And sorry, Pete, I know you're not keen on them, but I think this is one of the best little small knives that's made out there. Look at that blade on that. The workmanship on the smaller GECs are every bit as good as their large knives, and it takes no less a time to make these than it does their largest knives, which is why they're the same price as their largest knives. Yes, the material, but the materials for these sort of knives are not expensive. But look at that beautiful saw cut bone on this beautiful little number 14 um, knife. It's just beautiful. This would do me all day. And if I'm going out, sometimes I just take a little small one, stick it in a slip. This is a sort of slip, if I'm going somewhere where I might have to pull my knife out in public, lovely. If you pull it out in a slip, it's less scary too. And I'll carry, when I'm outside, I'll carry most of my little knives in a slip. One, it's nice, sits in my pocket, doesn't get damaged, doesn't damage anything else. I can put anything in my pocket with this, which is why I was just sort of showing that. Slips is another great part of EDC. I'm starting to find out. So there you go. There's a wee topic of conversation. Are these useful in your knife? And if they're not, would you give them a go? Do you think you would try them? I would love somebody to try them. Here's a look. There's a little Rough Rider. It's a little knocking knife. It's fantastic. It's locked up solid. Look at the handle on that. How beautiful is that to bring out? That's not going to frighten anybody, is it? It's really not. And it doesn't have the big R in the bolster. It's just a lovely little Rough Rider. So there's plenty of knives out there. This little fixed blade has so many uses. And I use this up around the house here. Again, if I want to go and break down boxes, will I take my peanut? No. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take the D2 and I'm going to break down, because why would I want to take a good GEC knife down to do box opening if I don't need to? If I need to, it's fine. It's my only knife. But I have this. I just take things like this to do jobs. This is just, it's always on my desk. Always on my desk. And it goes into a little sheath and it can be thrown into my pocket. There you go. It goes in a wee sheath and it gets thrown into my pocket if I'm going to go down the bins and cut up. There you go. Not all the time, but it's there. It's another option. So there you go. Big versus small. And it's not big versus small. This is just knives. And it's just me talking about how my knife journey has taken me from, these fidget-friendly knives. I've lost that interest in doing it. I used to get sore fingers and skin taken off my hands. Now I can't be bothered. Now, here's another thing I'm going to try out on Sundays. Not because I want to get rid of them, but I'd really like some of my knives if I'm selling them. And what I'm doing now, when I buy a GEC, I sell a GEC. So I'm going to try doing it now because I want to keep the GECs in the community, but I really want to keep it in my subs. So I've left this to the end because this is usually people who are dedicated subs who watch from start to end. The big GEC number 23, not UK legal. Fantastic big knife. This is the bullet knife, which was the the modern take on the old Winchester bullet knife. This is for sale. This is in perfect condition. It has cut nothing but slight paper. Listen to that. You want a work knife? Let me tell you, this here is a work knife. You've got that lovely bullet. You have got GE completely, no gaps. You have blades, which are, let me just get that where I can show you. Blades, which are, there you go, they're not rubbing, they're nearly up the center. What the bigger one is up the center, this one's just a little bit off, but nowhere near touching or rubbing against each other. This is a beautiful, this is my show knife, so this is a beautiful big knife. This is going for sale, and I'm going to just try this today. I'm going to put it for sale here and now. Don't answer on this on YouTube. Go on the Instagram if you're interested. Now, that's a dear big knife, I'll be honest. That's a lot of knife. It's a lot of knife. And I'm not giving them away because I've got to go and replenish the other knives that I'm going to bring in for the channel and for me. So that's for sale. The price for this knife is £177. £7 of that is for shipping, because I send it first class, next day delivery, special delivery. This is only available for those in the UK, because again, I want to keep these knives in the UK because they're just such beautiful pieces of art. That's the bullet knife, the number 77. There's a review on it, go back and have a look. But it is in immaculate condition with box. It's immaculate. Anybody interested, hit me up on Instagram, which is Paddy's Potato Peelers. Just go on. If you're not already subbed to my Instagram, sub to it and I'll bring you in, let you in. But it's basically whoever comes up with the price gets the knife first. There's no preference. It's whoever comes up, and I'll let you know straight away if you got the price. If you don't hear back, it means you haven't got the knife, because I'm not going to answer all the comments. You'll hear within probably an hour. If you haven't heard in an hour, it's probably gone. If I get caught up with something else, grandchildren come around, I'll contact you as soon as you possibly can. So there you go. I'm going to try this to see what it goes. I know it's expensive, but they're expensive knives. I'm going to make a couple of quid on what I paid for it. And it's not a whole lot of money, but it's going straight back into the channel. So indirectly buying it, you're helping the channel as well. And I'll thank you for that now. But, you know, outside of these sort of our communities, they're going for much more than that. I believe. And that's all I can believe. So there you go, folks. I'm going to go. I hope you enjoyed the wee Paddy's knife chat. Hope it wasn't too higgledy-piggledy. If it was, it's just Paddy. See you later. Bye-bye now. Take care. Instagram if you want the knife.